we'll, I guess, go ahead and give it over to Dottie. She'll have a few announcements about the Office on Aging. We did not meet as an executive committee today due to, well, Dottie will cover it. And so we'll be meeting again in January and have an update then. But go ahead and take it away, Dottie.
Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to our December edition of Council on Aging. Of course, we are doing these virtually as we have been for the past couple of months, so I hope everyone is staying safe. I am with the Office on Aging, of course, and so just want to share a couple of updates with you. We didn't have an executive committee meeting today because there was a virtual summit on telehealth and seniors that was sponsored by Comcast, and our office was a part of that. And so one of the things that we'll be sharing as we go forward is that they have Comcast is doing some things in the community as far as providing some laptops for seniors, as well as giving us a grant to help with digital literacy. So stay tuned for details as those emerge. A couple of other quick things. Many of you are familiar with our Snowflake Ball, which is in February typically. Like everything else, we have gone virtual this year. And save the date for February 20th at 7 p.m. from the comfort of your home and safety of your home. You can participate in Snowflake Ball this year. You can dress up as much as you want or as little as you want. So we'll share details as we go forward. But in the meantime, we are actually raising funds for the Snowflake Ball and for the Senior Companion Program. And if you are interested in donating, you are more than welcome to do that. We can give you information if you call our office at 524-2786. You can also visit our website at knoxseniors.org. For a donation of $50 or more, you actually receive a Snowflake Party Box, which includes a $25 gift card to a local organization like Texas Roadhouse. You get champagne, popcorn, gourmet chocolates, and a little gold crown with it as well. So you are welcome to join us for all of that. The other thing is that we are having our Subaru Share the Love, participating in that again this year. If you are in the market for a new vehicle and are interested in a Subaru, $250 of your purchase goes right to our program here in Knoxville, the Mobile Meals Program, which delivers meals to homebound older adults. That is going on until January 4th, I believe is the date. So we are so proud to be a part of the Subaru Share the Love. So I'm going to turn it back over to Angela to get us started with our speaker.
Sorry, I was muted. Thanks, Dottie. Before we do, I do have one more announcement. Our meeting today, first off, we have a really great partnership with United Healthcare. They sponsor a lot of our events, and you may see them around, used to see them around more often when we had in-person events. But today our friend Elizabeth is here, and she's going to tell us a little bit about United Healthcare because they are, in fact, sponsoring today's program. So take it away, Elizabeth. You may be muted. No, I don't hear it. Let me see. Isn't it *6 on your phone to unmute yourself?
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Okay, great. Sorry about that. Okay, so as she said, I'm Elizabeth. I'm here with United Healthcare. And so when I first came to this position, I had no idea what I was getting into. And then I came to think I was going to be, the world's greatest bingo player. I had high hopes. And now I know that my job is to establish the connections to help ensure the health and well-being of those that we serve. So as some of you may know, the dual complete plans are designed for both Medicare and Medicaid individuals. And our plan includes comprehensive dental, vision, transportation, over-the-counter benefits, in addition to coverage for in-network doctors, hospitals, prescription drugs. So at United Healthcare, we believe we're more than just an insurance company. We're partners in care, taking every step to provide the best experience for our members. We're committed to delivering affordable healthcare solutions to help protect and improve health and well-being. So if there's any way that we can get involved with a project or event, just let me know. And thank you so much for having me today.
Thank you, Elizabeth. Okay, so now I would like to introduce Melanie Cahill. She is the Engagement Program Coordinator with Care Around the Block here in Knoxville. She has a background in Speech-Language Pathology and is a certified Montessori dementia care professional. With this background, she works to develop and implement engagement programs for clients living with dementia or who are experiencing the negative effects of social isolation. She also works with Care Around the Block's outreach team to provide education and resources in the community, and I'm making her the presenter because she has an amazing PowerPoint to share with us today. Welcome to the program, Melanie.
Thank you, Angela. I appreciate it. So I just need to share my screen at the bottom.
Okay.
I think. And
Dottie, it may be you to accept sharing.
It's asking me to share my entire screen, but it won't let it say it says it's connecting.
Okay.
So, and it's still kind of doing that.
In the meantime, I do have, I believe, the list of the helpful websites that we, I believe, sent out. If I did not get those sent out, I apologize, but I will get them sent out. And I'm putting them in the chat. They're hopefully, let's see.
Do you see my, you see it? All right, let me just put it on slideshow. And we should be good. So I can't see anybody, and I can't see if you have questions. So Angela, would you mind just kind of monitoring that, and I can look at questions at the end? Will that be all right? Because all I can see is my slideshow.
Yeah, I'll let you know, and we'll have a Q&A session, and I can read those off for you.
Perfect. So, well, thank you so much, Office on Aging, for having me today. I really enjoy doing talks in person, but I'm so thankful to be able to do some Zoom talks this season, and that way I don't have to wear my mask. So, like Angela said, I work for Care Around the Block, and I am the Engagement Program Coordinator. So, our company is dedicated to help individuals and families age successfully. And like Angela said, one of the perks that I have is getting to go into the community virtually and in person and talk about topics that are relevant to seniors. So let's see if I can get right in. So our talk today is on healthy, successful aging. And so we want to talk a little bit about a definition of what that means. So I'm going to be defining successful healthy aging according to the MacArthur Foundation. They have done extensive research in commonalities with older adults that are living into their 90s to see if there's any commonalities that they share. So they, based on all of their research, have come up with these three things. To be a healthy, successful ager, you need to avoid diseases or successfully navigate diseases such as diabetes or heart disease. Successful, healthy agers are engaged with life. And they also maintain high cognitive and physical functioning. So based on several longitudinal studies, we have narrowed down ways of achieving successful healthy aging to these topics that you see on the PowerPoint. And then we're going to explore these in more depth today. I've also included just all throughout the talk some tips for overcoming social isolation as we pursue these ideas. I really hate the term social distancing, which we are all encouraged to do, because I don't feel like that is really what we're doing to stay safe. We are physically distancing, but I really encourage everyone to stay socially connected as we are physically distancing. So we're going to be talking more specifically about these different areas: physical exercise, a healthy diet, mental stimulation, what I call brain exercises, maintaining good social relationships, and then positive emotions. All of these are things that are part of being successful as we age. So we're going to talk about physical activity first. I have a real affinity for the National Institutes on Aging's senior health website. They have a ton of information. If you're not familiar with the National Institutes of Health, they're based in Maryland, and it's government funded, and there's institutes on, cancer, there's mental health, and there's also an institute on aging. And they just have a lot of information that's free to the public, your tax dollars hard at work. And a lot of what I have gotten for the physical activity section has come from their website. According to the NIH Senior Health Online blog, there are four areas. There are four areas that people typically lose ground in when they're inactive. And these are endurance, strength, balance, and flexibility. So these areas are important in staying healthy. The Go for Life, number 4, Life, through the National Institute Senior Health site, they have examples and video demonstrations of exercises that fall into these 4 categories. So you can check that out. Maintaining good physical health is very important on several fronts. So it reduces the risk of falling. It provides opportunities to maintain good blood flow, which positively impacts our mental functioning. Anything that we're doing for our heart is going to be good for our brain. It also releases endorphins that improve our mood and sleep habits. Those who do not exercise have been found to have more visits to the doctor. They have more hospitalizations, and they tend to use more medications. So exercise may delay or even prevent disease. It helps to manage stress and improve your mood and reduce the symptoms of depression. So activities such as walking, gardening, climbing the stairs, Tai Chi, yoga, all of these can be helpful in maintaining these 4 areas. So it's also I want to point out that it's never too late to start a good exercise program. We're going to talk about endurance exercises first. These generally increase your breathing and your heart rate. We think of them as aerobic exercises. Endurance exercises improve the health of your heart and lungs and circulatory system. They also may delay and prevent some common diseases. You want to build up your endurance gradually with a goal of 30 minutes a day of moderate intensity endurance exercises. Some examples of this would be brisk walking, yard work, dancing, and biking. And the great news is all of these things can be done with safe physical distancing, except for dancing, unless you're dancing alone. The next area is strength. For strength building, you can use light weights or even common household objects like cans. Also, you can use jugs and fill them with water and change the amount of water in the jugs to increase or decrease weight. You can also use resistance bands, and they're really easy to get, and they're very portable. You can get them at Dick's or Academy Sports. There are a lot of exercise routines that you can find on YouTube specific to seniors. And also, like I said, the Go for Life website has videos of exercises for strength. Remember to set yourself a goal of 10 to 15 repetitions for each exercise. It should feel hard, but not too hard. If you to decide what size weights that you want to use. If you can't lift or do 8 repetitions of an exercise with the weights you've chosen, you've probably chosen weights that are a little too heavy and you need to lessen the weight. If it's way too easy, then you might need to increase the weights. I would encourage you to have a distance buddy to check in with, to do your exercises. Even you can do a video call and do your exercises together. Since a lot of us aren't going to health clubs anymore, that is one way to have some camaraderie when you're doing your exercises. So good balance is very important as we age. If we're not doing activities to challenge our ability to balance well, those connections in our brain weaken. So for balance to be good, it has to be exercised and used. Balance exercises can be done anytime and anywhere fairly easily. We often avoid uneven surfaces, but safely walking on these unpredictable surfaces actually helps increase our ability to balance. As we age, we're often really tempted to look down at our feet to make sure we don't fall, but our balance centers are actually made to make adjustments as we're looking straight ahead. So it's really important to look straight ahead as you're walking. Some examples of good balance exercises are as simple as just standing on one foot. You can do this while you're washing dishes at the counter. Just stand on one foot, see how long you can do that. Do it with the other foot. If you want to challenge yourself, close your eyes and do it. It's a whole different activity. You can also take part in a Tai Chi class. Again, these can be found online. And standing on, heel to toe walking. So just walking across the room, heel to toe. That way you can work on, if the police ever pull you over for a DUI, you can practice your heel to toe walking. So the last area is flexibility. We all can relate to the stiffness that comes with age. Many may suffer from arthritis. Research shows the importance of continuing to move and work through those stiff joints. Stretching exercises will help with increased freedom of movement. So keep in mind as you stretch that it shouldn't be painful, but just slightly uncomfortable. While many of these exercises can be performed safely at home, consider looking for ways to exercise safely outside. Walk in your neighborhood and wave at your neighbors. When the weather is warmer, look for the possibility of outdoor classes. I saw a lot of these popping up this summer where there were outside exercise classes. Exercise is always more fun when you're pursuing them with others. So whatever is fun is likely to be done. So make sure what you are choosing to do is enjoyable. When I wasn't able to go to the gym anymore, I had been doing a high intensity interval workout there. So I didn't go to the gym and I was trying to find some alternatives. And thankfully I found some on on the internet that I was able to do. And I've been doing the same one twice a week for 10 months. And it's a little boring, but it's a good workout. And now whenever I do it, I just need to see when things start and stop. And I usually listen to a book on tape, or I do the class with my husband, or I listen to a podcast. So make sure you're doing something that's enjoyable or finding a way to make it enjoyable. So make exercise an active decision. It's never too late to start an exercise program. You want to make it a priority. It's one of the most effective ways to lower the risk for certain issues such as falls, heart disease, and even exercise has been linked to decrease incidence of dementia. It's easy to table the idea of getting started, especially if you've never been one to do formal exercise. So consider making time for exercise every day and then stick to your plan. It's important to make it easy. Routine exercise needs to be convenient and affordable. Modifying routine activities such as lifting small weights or using a pedaling machine as you're watching television are ways to kind of bring some passive activity, makes a passive activity a little more active. Make it safe. This is important. Make sure that you check with your physician to see if you have any limitations as to what you should be doing with exercise. And then make it social. Look for groups that are already active. They would likely be thrilled to have another participant. And this way you can make new friends and interact with others. I know that this can be tricky in our current environment. So it just takes a little bit more work to find ways to connect with people while still staying safe. It's, I think, getting a little trickier now that the weather is colder. So people are less likely to want to be outside exercising. I found that to be a challenge as well. But if at all possible, exercising outdoors gives you the vitamin D that's really important for you. It's just good for your overall mental health, and it might allow you to be with others safely. So consider finding a good, safe place to walk if that's your exercise of choice. And then lastly, just make it interesting and fun. Don't pick something you don't enjoy. Play games with yourself, set goals, and that will probably ensure that you continue with the program. Okay, next we're going to talk a little bit about nutrition. Old Ways created the Mediterranean diet pyramid in 1993, partnering with the Harvard School of Medicine or Public Health and the World Health Organization. This is a healthier alternative to that food pyramid that we often see. It is primarily a plant-based diet. And you can find more information about the Mediterranean diet if you go to the website that's on the screen. They encourage you to use, like I said, plant-based, such as fruits, vegetables, whole grains, nuts, beans, peas, and lentils. They encourage you to use healthy fats, such as canola oil or olive oil, when you're cooking, and then flavoring your foods with herbs and spices rather than salt. They encourage you to enjoy fish and poultry at least two times a week. A lot of people that do the Mediterranean diet choose not to use meat at all, and the Mediterranean diet discourages the use of red meat. They encourage you, if you do drink, to drink red wine in moderation and exercise regularly. If you go, there's several cookbooks that are give you some easy recipes for the Mediterranean cooking. And there's even a couple of restaurants that kind of cater to more of a Mediterranean diet. There's a new one in Knoxville called, I'm not going to say it right, NAF, NAF. And then there's a couple of others that I'm not thinking of right away, but a couple others that have more Mediterranean type choices on their menu. Just some other tips for healthy eating would include eating fruits and vegetables of a variety of color. So don't just eat the green things, add some orange and yellow into your diet. Leave the skins on the fruits and vegetables whenever possible. They are a great source of fiber and extra nutrition. Avoid fried foods. If any of you have used an air fryer, it's a great alternative if you love fried foods without the unhealthiness of fried foods. Look for food that's rich in fiber. It just kind of helps keep things moving well. Watch your portions as we get older. This is something I really struggle with. We just don't need as much to eat, so our portions need to be reasonable. And then look for foods that are low in cholesterol and saturated fats. If you're looking to make some choices about, say, sauces or soups, you want to go with tomato-based rather than cream-based for just a healthier choice. So next I wanted to touch on dehydration. Dehydration in seniors, it can be very problematic. The things that would put you at a higher risk for dehydration would include the use of some medications, just the reduced ability of our body to conserve fluids. Oftentimes people say they're not thirsty, their taste for, or their thirst sensors just aren't as sensitive as they once were, so you may not feel like you're thirsty a lot of the times, but that doesn't mean you don't need to drink. Also, just our inability to respond well to temperature changes can influence dehydration. And then chronic illness can put you at a higher risk for dehydration. Some warning signs that you may be suffering from dehydration would include mood changes, headaches, dizziness, constipation, muscle cramping, impaired memory or reasoning skills, and then just difficulty concentrating. Like I said, it is just a lot more critical as we get older to avoid dehydration. I've known several people that have been hospitalized because they were dehydrated. And they would often say, well, I just wasn't thirsty. If that's the case, you really almost have to force yourself to make sure you're getting enough fluid. So it's important to drink enough liquids to keep your body working properly. And make sure you check with your doctor. There are some medications and there are some conditions that would limit how much fluid that your doctor would want you to take. So make sure you check with your doctor to see if you have those conditions that would say you needed to limit your fluid rather than make sure you're drinking enough of it. So that's very important. Drink plenty of liquids such as clear water and that don't have added sugar. A lot of people just aren't wild about water. I have really enjoyed the sparkling waters that are flavored. They come in all different flavors, and it's a great way to get your water intake if you're not a real big water fan. If you choose to drink alcohol, you don't want that to be the source of all your liquid. Same thing with coffee or caffeinated beverages. You want to be drinking alcohol in moderation. I believe it's 1 glass for women and 2 glasses a day for men. Again, it's mentioning on the slide that you need to make sure you've checked with your doctor to see if you're supposed to limit how much you do drink because of heart or kidney issues. Another liquid that is a good source of fluid would be fat-free or low-fat milk. If you're drinking juices, make sure they're 100% juice. And then low-sodium broths are another option. Coffee and tea, within moderation. Herbal teas, you can drink a lot more of those. So research supports that what is good for the heart is also good for the brain. So that whole idea of mind-body connection is a real thing. Maintaining appropriate amount of exercise, a healthy diet, and good hydration can postpone the onset of many issues as we age, from decreasing the likelihood of physical injuries to improving mental health and even possibly preventing the onset of medical conditions such as heart disease and dementia. So if you decide to kind of embark on an exercise and eating plan, give yourself a goal of sticking with it for a month and then evaluate how things are going. Test yourself about every month to track your progress. You might feel like you have more energy just on a daily basis. Check to see if you have a better mood or better outlook on life. See if you're sleeping better. Sometimes increased exercise can make a difference in the quality of your sleep. Is it easier to do everyday activities? Are you getting winded as easily as you once did? So I think the answer to these questions can help you know how effective this new plan is and encourage you to keep going with it. So next, we want to focus on ways to keep mentally fit. For the purposes of my talk today, I'm going to define mental fitness as attributes that people have or achieve that relate to the ability to perform cognitive activity. And the emphasis is on function as cognition relates to everyday life. So this topic is very near and dear to my heart. Several members of my family are living with or currently or have passed away from different forms of dementia. My position with Care Around the Block has also brought me in contact with some fascinating older adults, many of whom are suffering with dementia. This exposure has caused me to be acutely aware of my own mental health and aging. So I have looked for ways to include activities that are going to help me stay mentally fit. So much of what I found in my research and working with others, I bring as this part of our talk. A well-known actress once said that growing old is not for the faint-hearted, and I would have to agree. As we age, it's not unusual to wonder about how well we're doing. We all want to live to be 90, but what is that going to look like? We may ask ourselves, how worried should I be about mental decline? Is decline inevitable? Can decline be prevented? Can I improve my mental abilities as I age? I think we all want to know, can we age successfully? So in general, according to the National Institutes on Aging, these lifestyle factors may threaten your brain health. These include some medications or the improper use of them. Smoking reduces the oxygenation that's happening in our body. So anytime we're doing something that decreases oxygenation, it affects our heart. It also affects our brain. The excessive use of alcohol, unnecessarily killing brain cells that we need. Heart disease, such as diabetes and other health problems, again, anything that's going to affect our circulation is going to affect our thinking. A poor diet, oftentimes vitamin deficiencies can impact our cognitive abilities. Insufficient sleep. Several recent studies have shown the importance of getting a good night's sleep. During sleep, our brains clean up a lot of the debris that build up during the day. So not getting good sleep can be problematic for maintaining mental fitness. Then a lack of physical activity. Studies show that people that get that aerobic exercise that we talked about do better cognitively for longer. And then the really sad part is this little social activity, which a lot of us are struggling with right now. Being alone most of the time has negative impacts on our cognition. This cognitive decline and depression in previously cognitively intact individuals just due to the social isolation we're experiencing right now. I want us to take wise precautions to help prevent getting COVID, but I also don't want to ignore the importance of social connections. So it just means trying a lot harder to maintain those social connections. In a culture right now that we're encouraged to stay away. Again, that goes back to that terminology. I would encourage the physical distancing, but let's not socially distance. So our mental function encompasses several domains. Oftentimes we just think of it as memory, but mental functioning includes insight and judgment, language, both the understanding of language and the speaking, visual spatial orientation, understanding the function of objects, sequencing tasks, personality and mood, and then thinking and reasoning. Individuals may vary in their abilities within these areas. For instance, someone may have excellent communication skills, but less able in the visual spatial orientation. So as I said earlier, aging is not for the faint-hearted, and we often ask ourselves, is this normal? Losing your keys when you're in your 20s is an irritation, but as we get older, it can be a source of panic. Last 2 weeks ago, I accidentally left my computer case with my computer in it in the parking lot of a local assisted living where I see several clients, and unfortunately it got run over by a car. And I was telling one of my clients that, and I could just see the panic in her eyes because I knew she was thinking, if that were me, I would think I had lost it. I wasn't terribly bothered by it, and I think if I were in my 20s, it wouldn't have made me question my sanity whatsoever. But as we get older, we start getting a little nervous about those lapses. So let's talk about what it means to normally age. Just like other parts of our body, our brains also age and show changes over time that are all considered normal. From a review of the literature by Valerie Fleming, normal changes that occur in the brain as we age include neuron, which are brain cells, shrinkage, so that leads to overall brain shrinkage, increases in debris such as amyloid plaques, which a lot of people associate with Alzheimer's, and it is a part of that, but normal aging brains also have amyloid plaques. And then a decrease in the amount and function of neurotransmitters, which is the chemical that allows information to jump from one brain cell to the next. Changes may occur in any of the domains that we mentioned before: cognition, attention, memory, executive functioning, language. However, the changes are generally only seen in tests where performance is compared with younger adults, and there's a time limitation as to how quickly you need to finish the task. But they don't tend to interfere with activities of daily living. So what does it mean? We see modest declines in the ability to learn new things or retrieve information in normal aging adults. Multitasking may be more challenging as we get older. That just allows us to be more mindful, though. Visual scanning for information, like if you're looking for information on a page, that may be a little slower than when you were in your 20s. Did I just say that out loud? Our gatekeeper often takes longer coffee breaks. The frontal part of our brain is kind of our gatekeeper. And as we get older, it takes more breaks than it used to. And you might find yourself saying things out loud that you hadn't really anticipated, but that is normal. Challenges with speed in complex tasks. However, given enough time, older adults come up with the right answer. So just remember, if you're going to play Trivial Pursuit with a bunch of 20-year-olds, prepare to be frustrated because they may be able to react quicker, but you probably knew the answer. So play with your age peers. Organizing and the sequence of tasks maybe take a little bit longer and be more challenging. And then recall of people's names may come slower, especially with people that you don't see frequently. So let's look at what is typical for aging adults. Again, don't be surprised if you have some occasional difficulty with names or remembering appointments. The classic why you entered the room, I have many times, and I'm sure that you can relate, rushed into a room with a sense of purpose and immediately forgot why I was there. A normal aging brain can backtrack and remember eventually why you went into the room. The day of the week, you can sometimes forget that, especially if you're retired and you don't have a set schedule. Where you've placed your keys or your wallets, I always encourage people to have a set place to always put their keys and wallets so they're not panicking or wasting time looking for them. You may have some trouble with decision making. Complex tasks may be more difficult, such as balancing the checkbook. And then it's expected that there would be times of feeling sad or moody as we get older. So some aging adults are just more resistant to cognitive decline than others. Some factors that may contribute to this are neuroplasticity, flexibility, and adaptability of brain networks. We once thought of our brains like the hardwiring of a computer with little flexibility of function or the ability to repair or restore itself like so many of our other organs in our body. The thinking at that time was use it and lose it. You know, as you're using your brain, you're wearing it out and you're losing part of it and you can't regain it. However, according to Dr. Norman Deutsch, in his book, The Brain's Way of Healing, our living brain is actually neuroplastic, which means its circuits are constantly changing in response to what happens, what's actually happening out in the world. So that idea lends itself to a use it or lose it mindset for mental functioning. Flexibility and adaptability of brain networks stem from Dr. Deutsch's idea of neuroplasticity. So studies have shown that brain, both memory and cognition in older adults without a dementia diagnosis can show improvement with training. So what can we do to keep mentally fit? Here are some specific ideas you can participate in to maintain mental flexibility through learning new skills. One of the keys to keeping mentally fit is the idea of giving your brain new and novel things to problem solve. Another author, and I can't remember, I won't say his last name because I won't pronounce it correctly, but his first name is Michael. He's a neuroscientist, and he wrote a book called Soft Wired, and it is a fascinating book, and it is all about this idea of neuroplasticity. And he talks extensively about activities that people have participated in and actually made new brain connections where there was damage. So I would highly recommend the book. I'm pretty sure it's on my resource list. So some things that you can do to keep that mental flexibility might be learning a foreign language. When we're younger, foreign languages come a little easier, but as we get older, it's challenging, and it really is a brain exercise to learn another language. There are several programs out there, a lot of them computer-based, for just conversational language, one of them being Rosetta Stone. That's a real accessible language program. You might learn to play a musical instrument. Again, when we're younger, these things come a little easier. As we get older, you can just feel the inflexibility of your brain as you push forward to try and learn a new musical instrument. If you already know a musical instrument, challenge yourself by learning some new pieces that would cause you to really think more and stretch your brain more. Take part in a complex craft. The craft that I take part in is crocheting. I crochet quite a bit. In fact, my hands can crochet while my brain is completely disengaged with what's going on. So I have a significant amount of muscle memory that's going on to crochet. So that's not really a complex task. It's not really helping my mental flexibility. I enjoy it, but it's not giving me some mental fitness benefits. So oftentimes I make myself learn a new project. I'm terrible at following directions, so just the act of learning a new pattern is challenging for me. So I try and do that every couple of months. If you have a skill that you know very well and it's not very challenging to you, you might consider teaching it to somebody else, because then you have to think about it in a different way. Consider reading complex material, not all the time, just every once in a while. Something that really challenges your thinking is a mental flexibility task. You're doing one thing right now, coming in and taking part in adult education classes. That is a little more challenging nowadays. I know I do some classes over in Oak Ridge with their Oracle program, and we've been doing them online. They offer a huge number of classes for adults that are very interesting. Play games that require strategy, like chess or bridge. So all of those things are novel or causing you to think through problems and make decisions, and all of those things lend itself to improving your mental flexibility. There's a website called Brain HQ, and it's put together by an organization called Posit Science. Posit Science partnered with the National Institutes on Aging several years ago. They did a longitudinal study, and they wanted to see the effects of computerized brain games on people's cognitive abilities. and they found that, I'm going to talk about this in a little bit, but there is one of the games that Posit Science invented that they used in that study, and I'll talk a little bit more about that when we talk about computer games. But down their brain headquarters, they have a ton of information. It's very informative, and if you go on their homepage and you go all the way to the bottom, you'll see a place that says resources. And you click on that, and it gives you ideas of things that you can do that are strengthen your brain. I've listed several of them, and I'm just going to talk about 2 of them today. I'm going to talk about the first one, visiting a museum, which is pretty challenging right now. However, several museums do have virtual tours that you can go online and see. So the activity that they want you to do is to go on a guided tour of a museum or another site of interest. Pay careful attention to what the guide says, and then when you get home or turn off your computer, try to reconstruct the tour by writing an outline that includes everything you remember. You can also do just tell somebody everything you remember. So what's the positive benefits of this? Research into brain plasticity indicates that memory activities that engage all levels of our brain, like receiving information, remembering the information, organizing it, thinking about it, and then telling about it, that all helps to improve the function of the brain. So that's one activity that's easy to do. The second one I want to talk about is turn down your television. We'll talk about that one. So what they want you to do, and this is just for a brief time. This is not what they want you to do every time you sit down to watch the television, but for, say a 30-minute program. Set your television volume down just a little from where you normally have it set. So usually our volumes show on the television with numbers. So maybe set it maybe 5 numbers below what you normally set it on. And see if by concentrating you can follow just as successfully as when the volume was higher. So as soon as that starts getting easier, turn the volume down another notch. So why would we want to do this? You can't get rid of radio static by turning up the volume. Many people raise the volume not because they can't hear, but because their listening has become detuned, a little fuzzy. So matching the TV volume to a conversational level can help you catch every word when you're talking with others. So it's just increasing your focus on what you're listening to. So I'd encourage you to go to their website and look at some of the other activities they describe on there. So a lot of people ask me about computer training games. There are a ton of them out there, and they make a lot of promises. But few studies demonstrate the transferability of gains on computer brain games. There's very little transferability to overall cognitive abilities. So there's very limited studies have found improvement in processing time, multitasking abilities, and balance. A 2012 study found improvements in brain areas that control for spatial ability using a game called World of Warcraft. But other brain training games such as Luminosity have shown improvements on specific tasks, but have failed to show a boost in overall brain function. So that NIA study that I mentioned before, they used the Posit Science computer brain game called Double Decision. And it demonstrated that individuals' speed and processing time improved through playing that game, and that they saw gains that were transferable to other cognitive tasks. So that game is available through Posit Science, but there's a fee associated. Posit Science has a lot of training games that you can do for free, but that particular one has a fee attached to it. So a lot of these computer games are going to say that they are backed with research. Luminosity is the one I'm most familiar with, and they have a ton of research surrounding the games. But primarily, the research is focused on improvement on the games. So they usually do a baseline test to decide what level game you should start with, and then every time you play, it gets a little bit more difficult. So they're showing that you get better. However, if you were to take a cognitive test prior to doing the games and then do the games for, say, a month, they are not seeing that you take that cognitive test again, they're not seeing gains in that cognitive test. They are seeing that you're improving on that game, but it's not transferring. Also, if you stopped playing the game and didn't play for about a month, it's likely that you'd go back to your baseline. You don't maintain those gains. So they're not bad for you, and if you enjoy them, go ahead and play them, but they don't give you the gains that they often advertise that they do. So keys to successful cognitive training include making activities challenging, progressively difficult without becoming frustrating. It's helpful to give yourself rewards and make it fun. Remember, if it's not fun, it won't get done. And then vary what you do. A lot of people say, oh, I do the crossword puzzles every single day. Well, that's great, but that just means you get really good at crossword puzzles. But learning how to make decisions and figure out novel problems, that's the type of training that really gives you some gains in mental functioning. Another aspect of keeping mentally fit would be complex environments with opportunities for choices. Oftentimes we avoid new situations, but new situations afford us a plethora of opportunities to improve our mental flexibility. We can tend to go on autopilot if we're always in the same situation, doing the same things in the same places. So it just kind of keeps us on our toes when we go into new environments. So if you struggle with putting yourself into unfamiliar territory, just remind yourself it's good for your brain. So wrapping up this section, our brains are wonderfully complex and much more resilient than we previously thought. Our brains change as we age, and that's normal. There are habits we can develop to help strengthen our cognitive health, eating a heart-healthy diet, physical, social, and intellectually stimulating and challenging activities. Remember, it is never too late to develop habits that will help keep us mentally fit. I believe that old dogs can learn new tricks. All right. Social connections. From the book Successful Aging by Rowe and Kahn, we are social creatures, which is why our current culture is challenging for a lot of us. Connections with others is essential to our well-being. Successful agers report friendship is important for their emotional security. Social support and supportive behavior can positively affect our health. There have been a lot of studies that have talked about the importance of social connections and the detrimental effects of social isolation. Again, I do not want to encourage people to not be safe during COVID, but I also don't want us to ignore the importance of social connections. They just may have to look a little different during this season. So social connections, some ways for us to do it in this COVID season we're in. Look for online classes, Zoom calls or FaceTime calls with friends and family. That is something that felt a little uncomfortable when I first started doing it, and now I prefer FaceTime calls with my family. It just gives you a different level of connectedness. You can share, your Christmas tree or your decorations or your pets while you're doing FaceTime. I have an older sister who is in a memory care community, and she's just not very good with communication. So if we didn't have FaceTime to see each other, that it would be really hard to continue to be connected with her. Look for ways to visit outside. I have been so thankful this summer and fall for my front porch. We've done a lot of entertaining on the porch. Just old-fashioned phone calls and old-fashioned snail mail. It's always fun to get real mail in your mailbox and not just advertisements. Social media groups around a certain interest that you might have. Again, walking in your community and connecting from a distance with your neighbors are all ways to stay connected. So looking for ways to maintain social connections, as I said, challenging yet are going to net us a lot of benefits. Focusing on thankfulness improves our overall outlook. I would encourage you to spend less time watching the news and more time enjoying nature. That also can improve your mood. With the holiday season upon us, look for ways to bless others that are serving our community. Send holiday cards, watch holiday movies, especially the lighthearted, funny ones. With much of our social connections moving to technology-based formats, this is a great time to practice learning new things by conquering technology. In this way, you are helping your mental fitness as well as increasing your social connections. Laughter can be very beneficial in helping to reduce pain, anxiety, fear, and it can also enhance your resilience. It helps to strengthen our relationships with others. So watch some funny movies, read the funny pages. I love the funny stories in the Reader's Digest. Share a joke. I've been sharing dad jokes with one of my clients. We start each of our session with a couple dad jokes. If you don't know what those are, you can Google them and find some good jokes. Play with a pet. Spend time with young children. I have just had a new grandson, and they live far away, so I don't get to see my grandson very often. I've only seen him once since he's been born, but I'm so thankful for a app that allows my daughter-in-law to share pictures and videos. So every day we go to that app to look for pictures of the grandson, and the videos are just precious. So I'm so thankful for that. Smile and be grateful and bring some humor into your life. So all of these things can help us during this difficult time, help us to be more resilient. So when Dr. Gene Cohen headed the National Institute on Aging, I believe it was back in the 90s, he had a wonderful opportunity to interview the comedian George Burns. At the time, he was 97 years old. He was there to present Mr. Burns with a certificate acknowledging his positive contributions to images of aging. So when Mr. Burns came on stage, he decided to deliver a joke. To fully appreciate the context of the joke, you have to understand the timing of the meeting. It was during the height of the Surgeon General's campaign against smoking. And Dr. Cohen was there as a public health official from the federal government. So as Dr. Cohen is presenting Mr. Burns with a certificate, Mr. Burns hands him this illegal Cuban cigar, at which point Dr. Cohen says, "Not to worry, I don't inhale." And George Burns said that he didn't either, and the more he thought about it, he was going to run for president. He went on to explain how he was adapting to his advanced age. He said he had started asking for applause ahead of time, just in case. And he no longer purchased green bananas. When asked what his doctor thought about his smoking and drinking, George replied, "I don't know. he's dead. So, according to helpguide.org online, laughter can relax the body, relieve stress, reduce perceived pressures, and strengthen the immune function and improve our mood. So all of these things that we just talked about, the social and the laughter, all help to build our resilience. And resilience is just the ability to bounce back during difficult experiences. And I think all of us are together in knowing that we've all been through some pretty difficult experiences recently over the last 10 months. So resilience involves behaviors, thoughts, and actions that can be learned and developed at any time. So I'm just going to go through this real quickly. Building resilience, the ways we can do that is connecting with others. When we see problems, realizing that they can be solved, accepting that change is just a part of life, develop goals and work towards them, take action as opposed to avoiding dealing with things as needed, engage in self-discovery, foster a positive outlook or view of yourself, maintain a hopeful perspective, and make sure that you're engaging in self-care. All of these are important ways we can help us become stronger and more resilient in the face of change and difficult situations. So I know I've talked about a lot of things really quickly, and I hope that I touched on some things that you could say, check, 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 I'm already doing that. But if there is one or two things that I mentioned today that you would like to try, I would just encourage you to choose one and focus on improving in that area, whether it be physical exercise, a different nutritional diet, brain games, getting out, socializing safely. So just pick one thing that you'd like to work on. So that is the end of my talk, and I guess I'm open for questions. I'm not sure how to get out of my talk. Oh, I'll try it that way.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Melanie.
Sure.
If anyone has any questions, you can feel free to unmute yourself. It's *6 if you are on the phone. It's on your computer. If you're on the computer, you'll be able to do that there. But I know I received a question earlier that asked if there was any way that they could get the slides. Melanie.
I can send you the slides with notes.
Okay.
That would be helpful, and you can send it out.
Yeah, definitely.
Right.
And then, make sure to include the resource list.
Sure.
Does anyone else have any questions?
And everybody got the resource list okay?
Yes, I was able to copy and paste in the chat, and then, of course, I'll email the mailing list. But,
great.
Yeah. All right. It says Jared Pierce said, "Thank you so much."
You're welcome.
Awesome.
Yeah, it's weird to do a presentation and you're just looking at the computer. So y'all could be making faces and sticking your tongues out, and I didn't see anything.
Well, Melanie, this is Dottie. I would just like to thank you for joining us. I think the information you shared is very helpful, and some of it, yes, hopefully a lot of us are already doing, but it's also a helpful reminder about what we should be doing if we're not, and what we can be doing. So I think that's great, helpful information. So thank you so much.
Sure, you're welcome. It's my pleasure.